Hello, my name is Paul Anzini. I did my book report on Coach. The ratings for this book are as follows. The book's intellectual value, 4. The book's scientific rigor, 2. The book's value for leadership, 5. And the readability, 5 as well. Coach was written by Kelly Freeman and Rick Jernigan, both who hold PhDs. Each letter in Coach stands for an essential leadership step. C stands for collaborative relationship. O stands for on target. A stands for ask, don't answer. The other C stands for coachable moments, and the H stands for healthy environment. The first step in the coaching technique is to develop a collaborative relationship with each and every employee you're trying to develop. If you skip the collaboratory relationship, you will fail at everything else in the book. If your employees are not comfortable with you and afraid to say what they actually think, then you will not truly be able to understand what they want, making it very difficult to unleash their full potential. So poke fun at yourself, admit your mistakes, ask for feedback, receive it respectfully, and then act on it. The relationship with your employees should be a two-way street. You should try and make them better, and they should try and make you better. To be a great leader, one must be a great listener, because it would be arrogant to think one person could do everything by his or herself. When the people you live with say you've become a great listener, it will automatically happen at work too. So practice leadership qualities at home to make them second nature in the workplace. Next in the coach process is on target. This section starts off with an inspirational story about a young businessman from the perspective of his boss, Jake. The young man had a remarkable rag-to-riches story about going from jail to becoming a national leader in his company. With his natural talent, he could be at the top of every production target, but as soon as he came close, he would just stop producing because he was content just not being in last. Jake tried everything, including performance appraisals, feedback sessions, and even threats, but nothing worked on this young man. Jake became ultimately frustrated with the young man's lack of motivation and one day asked him, "What on earth do you want out of life anyway?" The young man looked at Jake and said, "I've always wanted a boat." Jake was very surprised by this answer, but continued to ask him more. Turns out the young man had a specific boat in mind, a big red one. The young man grew up in a poor family, used to watch people out on the water enjoying their boats, and decided if he really amounted to something successful one day, that he would have his own big red boat. Jake no longer pushed the young man to review sales report or graphs of trend lines. All Jake did was simply ask the young man about his boat every day. And within 18 months, the young man became a top producer and bought a big red boat with all cash. If you want your player to take ownership for his or her own growth, then have a MOVE meeting. MOVE represents 4 key dimensions that you and your player must analyze in order to decide where to start the development process. M stands for motivators, like what matters to the player. O is for organizational needs, what matters to the company. V stands for view of self, how does the employee view his or her strengths and weaknesses. And E stands for external perspectives, how do other people view the player's strengths and weaknesses. Once you find out what their big red boat is, everything else will fall into place. The next step is called Ask, Don't Answer. This graph I developed can show it in 10 seconds. If you're the boss, don't give your employees the answer. Stimulate their brain and ask them, what do you think? How would you solve it? The boss should only make the key decisions. The next section is called Coachable Moments. Basically, anytime your player messes up, call them out on it. Try to help them. Give them constructive criticism. The main mistake a boss can make is just ignoring it. The last step is called Healthy Environment. It's also self-explanatory like the last section. It's impossible to play your best on a bad field. So do you provide your players with access to the resources needed to grow? I'm going to end my presentation with 3 quotes from the Coach book. The final act of leading is leaving. If you want to leave a legacy that matters, then apply yourself to helping others grow. The final act of living is leaving. Thank you.